What's poppin', y'all? We back with another very, very, very special episode of the Squid Game Aftermath podcast. I am your host, DeAndre, aka Player 288, and today we have the illustrious, the brilliant, the beautiful, the bold, the intelligent, the wise, the cunning, the mother, Miss Leann Plutnicki, Player 302. What's poppin'?
Holy cow. Do you have any other adjectives?
I mean, I
Because
can add a few more,
I like, yeah, those are pretty great. Like that. Wow. You're like the self-affirming God here. I'm going to have to call you every week.
Hey, I'm just speaking facts, okay? I'm just speaking facts.
Oh, oh. I
Just letting
remember when I first met you in the dorm, DeAndre, and it wasn't more than like, what, 2 minutes? We knew we were both from Kansas City and now living in the Northeast in the
I
New
know
York and New York area.
the coincidence is just hit because you were one of the first people I met in the dorms. Like it was really quick, like really quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if we met. I want to say it was in there. We like got to know each other more and more, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
definitely, you know, it was quick, and then we had to find out other Missouri people, and we are like, oh,
I
you
know.
oh, my son's in here. I was like,
And there
oh.
were so many Kansas City people. There,
Mhm.
I mean, Steven and Perna, and then
Yep.
Brooklyn is like might as well be from Kansas City, from Springfield, Missouri. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was cool. It was really the best thing about that game were the connections that I made. I know so many of us made. I mean, we have friends for life and of all ages. It's such an incredible thing to have been able to experience.
Oh, 100%. It was beautiful. You know, I couldn't have put it in any better words than you did myself.
Yeah,
Definitely got to see the good humanity in the people, I guess you could say. That's the
for
biggest thing I
sure.
could take away. So,
Yeah.
Leann, we gonna jump right into it, Leann. Tell me, why did you decide to apply for Squid Game, the challenge?
You know what? Trey applied. He's always trying to get on reality shows, especially Survivor, etc. So he applied. He had a pretty good casting, interview, and then they asked him if he would give thought to possibly entering the game with someone as sort of like a duo. And he's like, sure. So he asked his childhood buddy who lives behind us and a friend from college. And my daughter, who at the time lived with that childhood buddy in Austin, Texas, said, hey, Mom, did you know Trey asked John to, apply for this show? And I said, what about me? I'm doing nothing. I had just retired. I'm just like sitting at home trying like not to do the same thing every day. And Trey goes, really? He immediately texted casting, and within hours, they reached out. I can't remember if it was through a text or an email and asked me to fill out, the app and just start the process. And I guess like by coincidence, Trey was here in New Jersey when I did my video casting call with them. And so we were both on the screen together at the end of that. And I think maybe they just saw, okay, they'll get along good on the screen, whatever, But that's how I did. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'd like to do something new with my life. I'm like not getting the same routines and ruts. So
Yeah.
this sure took me out of that.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome that you kind of had that, and you're like, just because you just retired doesn't mean like I just want to do the same thing till death do us part. Like I want to still
Right.
live, and I still want to have a good time, and kind of show people you're a good proprietor on like showing people that you can still do new things no matter where you are in life. And so definitely 100% respect that and
I
admire that.
I think it woke me up to just like, yes, there's a comfort in the habitual things of the day. There is a comfort in that, but there's like joy in doing new things and to give yourself the chance to find those new things and just for an hour, for a week, for 3 weeks, whatever it is,
Yeah.
just try it. just
Yeah.
just try that. That
Yeah.
was really, it was a gift.
Yeah, that was a gift, and it kept on giving a little bit. She's like, "Whoa, now I want a little bit now. Y'all giving me too much cake."
Oh, now it's like crazy, DeAndre. Like I look at my to-do list and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna get all this done. And it just goes into the next day. And then like, between like trying to have a little bit of a relationship with people on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, I feel compelled to respond to everyone, which everyone tells me is nuts to think you have to respond to everybody. But I don't know. They took the time to reach out, so it feels like I should take the time to reach back.
You got a good soul doing that, all that. I try and reach out to people back too, and it's a lot, but definitely you just put certain times and have a certain quota a day and slowly get there. But yeah, so
That's
you
good
find out you
advice.
get it. Yeah, you find out you get accepted onto the show, and
Yep.
you prepare and all that, and it's the night before you get on the plane to London. Tell me what's going through your head.
Well, first, let me tell you when I found out, when I got the phone call, no joke, was in a restaurant eating my fried calamari. So I go answer the squid call with squid in my mouth. It was just
Oh my
so weird.
gosh.
But so like the night before, okay, it was a cold night. I don't know. Were you in New York? Were you in Kansas City? Where were you?
I would think I was in New York. Yeah, I should have been in
Yeah.
New York. I think. Yeah.
So it's like a cold night and my ride came at night and it was dark and I don't know, it was just uh it's a really weird feeling to like tell my husband goodbye. I do not know when I'm coming back. Probably next week, but who knows? And I don't know, it's a little contemplative, but honestly, also, we had no idea what we were walking into. And when I landed at Heathrow in London, I get in my Uber or whatever, my car service over there. We got in a wreck on the way to the hotel where we had to check in. Yeah, we got
Really?
rear-ended. There was like some English road rage, and this box truck driver just rammed the back of the car that I was in. So that was like a little weird start to my whole
Wow.
adventure, but I was
Jeez.
fine. He was fine. The car had some damage.
Dang. I'm like,
That's
this
how it
was.
started.
Yeah, that's a wild start. The game. I mean,
I
some kind of game was getting started.
I know. It's just like not what you expect, but living
Exactly.
in the moment.
Man, just living in the moment. Like, look, it ain't my kind of car. It ain't my insurance. Just let me get to this hotel, and
You
then we
know,
gonna be all right. All right.
I
So,
told the guy, you call the producers if you need a witness. I'll come pick up the phone and talk.
too. Yeah, he trying to get a hold of you now. He's like, hey, remember when that car got hit? I need somebody. All right. Well, we get there safe and sound soon.
Yep.
And you spend a couple days in there, and then it's eventually time to get ready to head to the first game. So we get on the bus. Tell me what's going
Yep.
on in your head once you get on this bus headed to the first game.
Well, I was sitting by a stranger, and we were told we couldn't talk. Some people were surreptitiously talking, which we did like really the whole time, right? Before we could talk. Um, it was a long ride to that studio. It was like 2 hours. I'm like, dang, like and now we have to do this whole thing, which we didn't know how long it was going to be. So
Hmm.
they had us dressed in all the clothes we had, two pairs of socks. We wore our overcoats, but we were still basically standing outside for for all of it to start inside that massive studio. So it was cold. It was really cold. I There was a lot of anticipation and a lot of nervous, anxiety among everybody, which probably didn't help later in the night when we needed all that like energy in our bodies. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was nervous. Were you nervous? You had to be nervous.
A little bit. I was just in a little. I was chill and calm, cool and collected. I was tired. That was the biggest thing.
Right.
I just remember being very sleepy still, and get on this bus and kind of just when it's time to go, I'll wake myself up. But until then, I'm just gonna try and relax and maybe get a few Z's.
Yeah. And you know what? We learned in a hurry when we went to our individual tents, because I think each tent probably had what, like 50 players in it.
Yep.
So they were big tents, but they were crowded. And you could immediately see the diversity of people that we were about to be playing with. Old, young, from so many different countries. That was also, I like, we just wanted to talk to each other. So that made it a
Hmm.
lot of fun from the beginning.
Yeah. No, the isolation definitely took a toll on a lot of people, and I just wanted blah 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 like
Right.
forever
Yeah,
because
same. Absolutely the same.
so so yeah, we get in there and we finally get to chitter chat a little bit, and then soon we walk into the red light green light arena for the first time. Tell me what goes on your head when you first walk in there.
It was really like you stepped into the show, the original show. So the only difference being there really was no ceiling. They CGI'd a lot of stuff for the viewers. So there was
Hmm.
no ceiling, the lights were hanging down, and they also had like sensors hanging down, which read the sensors on our shoulder or shoulders. I don't know if we had them on both. Um, and then, like, you saw the doll, and she was a long way away because it was a football field, right? You know the length of a football field. So it's like a football field away, this giant doll, and it was big. It was like the only difference was there wasn't a real tree, it was a painted tree behind her. Um, and there were windows behind her with all the people with binoculars and
Hmm.
the adjudicators, as we came to call them. So that was really the only difference. It was
Yeah.
it was really cool to walk onto that set. The sets were stunning in this show, just
Yeah.
stunning.
Now, the set designer definitely needs to win an award for
Oh,
something. I don't know what award he could win, but it's an award for something. Like he
he
needs to get a
needs
raise or
it
something.
for
So
sure, for sure. I mean, that person did quite the job.
yeah, shout out to them, those people and whatnot. So we get in there and we get ready to get going. So we do our little practice round first, and then it's time for the real thing. What's your strategy, kind of going into this?
My strategy was to be in a defensive position like you learn in basketball. So I'm squatting. My hands are in front of me. They aren't resting against me. They're in front because to me that is the most balanced I can be. And I just want to stay balanced when I stopped. I initially was also thinking I would side shuffle. I think Brighton side shuffled for a while. I don't know if he did the whole time, but just anything to have the stability. Because I practiced that and practiced that, that's what my muscles did when we stopped. So the first time I was one step over the starting line because I was so far back. I don't think Trey got over the starting line at all when the first song ended. He was still behind the pink line. So I realized it's going, we have this 30-minute adjudication process where you have to freeze like that for 30 minutes. That was challenging. That was like, okay, do not do that again with the next song. Do not stop like that. But as an athlete, when you practice something, your muscle memory just kicks in. So I run, the music starts, I run, and I stop the exact same way. And I'm like, what in the world are you doing? You have to stop this. So
Oh
again, I don't know
gosh.
how long that was, but it was probably 20, 30 minutes. Uh, and I'm starting to feel it like already, like the first hour we're in. And Trey like talks out of the side of his mouth because he was still kind of even with me then. He's like, stand up straight and put your hands in your pockets. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do that next time. Well, I almost did it. But my muscles were just like, no, that's not what we practiced. So eventually I did
Oh,
it. So that's why you
okay,
saw me
okay.
run it with my hands in my pockets because it was freezing cold and I had hand warmers and I wanted to like stand up straight and not pull them out here in front of me. What was your
Yeah.
position? How did you stop?
So at first I did the same thing as you. I was sliding, and then you got in like the half squat type of thing, like defense position, and that was not the move because you started your
Not the
back
move.
started getting stuff. I felt like spikes was going into my back. It was seizing up. I was shaking, like it's like shaking like a salt shaker in there. And then ultimately after that, I'm like, look, I can't do this anymore. I got to sit down. And so I sat down the next
Oh,
time,
you
like,
did?
mm-hmm.
You
So
sat? Wow.
My legs, I was just afraid my back and my legs were just, mostly my back was going to give out and I was just going to collapse. So I just needed to sit down, get my energy back. And then every time after that, I just dove on the ground in front of me. Just got up, dove, got up, dove.
You were on the floor every time? See,
Yep.
it would have taken me half the song to get back up and start running, and then I would have had one note to advance. Like it would have been like, there's no way I could do that. No
No,
way.
it was definitely a challenge, but I knew like I needed to be relaxed. Like I wasn't, I started in the front too, so that helped. So I knew I had time. I kept making sure I
Right.
was majority people in the front. Okay, I'm good. So it was cold down there. It was very difficult still because you know it was freezing. My hands were frozen
Right.
solid. I couldn't move them, but I didn't trust my back at that point to hold
Oh,
up.
I don't think people will ever understand what a difficult physical, but also mental challenge that was. I don't think I've ever done anything in my life that, brought more out of me in order to accomplish in such a defined period of time. And like we know how we used to train. You used to train. There's nothing for me that compares to that. And I was going through stuff in my head, like, I was like remembering games from way back and like just like your mind was just working so hard.
Yeah,
So hard.
100%. Well, it was working hard, but you know your soul and spirit was working harder, and you eventually crossed the line in the last waning second. So take me through like that last round when you only have a few seconds left. Kind of what are you thinking? Like what's going on?
Right. So, as you know, with each round, the clock would continue running down as even after the doll had turned and completed. So it would tick down, and then they'd come back and add a second or two or 5 seconds onto the clock. And so the previous round, it had clicked all the way to 3. And you don't know for sure if they're going to put time on or not. So I was like 10 feet from the finish line. And at first, I was just going to dive head first. And I'm like telling Trey, who had already passed, move over, catch me because I'm diving. But then I realized, oh no, you had to have both feet across. And so that was not going to work. So I I had spots on the floor each round that I needed to get to. Like there was be a scuff mark. I'm like, that's where I need to get to. I have to make my legs be like a gazelle and get to that spot on the floor. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it. So I knew where my spot was. It was a finish line, but I knew where my first step had to be in order to accomplish that. And I really did think I could do it in 3 seconds. I didn't think anybody behind me could, but I knew that I could. But then when they added 2 more seconds, I'm like, I got it. I'm doing this. I'm going to get across this line unless I do something stupid here. I'm going to get across this line. And what a relief, because that previous round, I felt like I came up short because the song was like super fast. And I felt like I came up short. And I looked over at Trey's face and he had turned white. Maybe he was already white. I don't know because it was cold in there. We were all like corpses. Um, but I wasn't sure if I was going to get squibbed. But everyone got squibbed around me and behind. And I'm like, all right, we're good. Let's go. Start that
Hey,
music.
hey, we good. Let's get up on out
Yeah.
of here and let's get moving. So congratulations, you make it
Uh,
past the first game and we get out of there finally. And soon we enter the dorms. So when you first walk into the dorms, tell me what's going on through your head.
um, I was I was stunned. It really looked again just like the set, and the beds were stacked 5 high. But my like main concern, I need a bunk on the bottom. I don't care where it is in this dorm. I need a bottom bunk because like I'm not going to climb up or climb down in the middle of the night with this knee. I have a really bad knee from college. Like I knew I couldn't do that. So, and I knew I'd be getting up in the middle of the night, go up to the bathroom, whatever. So I immediately just head for a bottom bunk. And then the socializing began. You just started talking to people and roaming around. Trey and I made a point not to bunk near each other. He went up to the fifth flight of bunks, and I stayed on the floor. And he could watch, I could listen because I was right by the water fountain. I could listen to conversations. So it was good. It was great. And we're also looking for clues, right? So there are things painted on the tile around the dorm. So we're trying to see if the games are going to be what we think they're going to be based on those drawings. So
Yeah, no, definitely it's important to see your surroundings. And you sound like y'all got a solid game plan, you know? So, two questions going into this next one is, so you see all these people, who do you gonna get close with? And then since you are going in there with your son, why do you decide to tell people that you're going in there with your son?
yeah, initially we were not going to tell anybody, and we were going to hope, if we were able to garner alliances, that they would still be trusting of us if we told them a little later in the game that we're playing together, or not really playing together, we're here together, and we're looking out for each other. And we will now look out for anyone that's in my alliance, his alliance, our alliance. But when red light, green light happened, it was such an emotional moment. And Trey's like over there crying at the finish line. And I'm like, well, I think this cat is totally out of this bag. Like, why is this random guy like crying because this random woman is like trying to get across? So that kind of went away in a hurry. So I know when we entered the dorm, a lot of people already knew. And then word slowly started filtering around over the next day or so that we were there together. Um, because we were in it together, we were trying to deflect some of that, like we're playing together thing, because honestly, we really weren't playing together. But as far as like a strong alliance, I had people who I was closer friends with than other people I made friends with, but I don't know if I would say it was a strong alliance. There was no group think. It was all just like a gathering of information to help everybody. So, everybody still made their own decisions, like, who you're going to put up on the keyboard. And, everybody still made their own decisions, but garnered knowledge together. And we trusted each other. So, with Dash and Figgy, James, there were a lot of different people that we aligned ourselves with for knowledge, just, mining the knowledge. So that was helpful. That was really helpful. I guess you would call that an alliance, but we didn't orchestrate some big alliance move like some of the other people did.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's honestly the best way to go. I don't think, I mean, as you can clearly see, none of the any alliance member made it towards the end in these groups, so
Right.
it wasn't the way to go, in my opinion. I mean, I know like we met, of course, and once I got acquainted with you, we had a positive, like real talk, and like, look,
Yeah.
she's cool, like, oh, we're good.
Yeah.
It's not an alliance per se, but we definitely like got that connection where it's like I have no reason to ever kind of
Yeah.
come for you or do anything to you or anyone you're cool with. So that
Well,
knowing, yeah,
yeah. And that was my whole reasoning for when I put Lorenzo's number on the keyboard, because Andy, the guy who had been put up first, the one and only name, I had spoken with him quite a lot. He's a New York guy, and he's got an interesting life. And, was he like a pain? Yes, he was. But he was fun, and he was like very upbeat, and he was really playing the game. And I'm like, I can't vote for him. I would feel horrible to vote for him. So, and I also made it very clear to, at least like in the confessionals, I would never put up a person of color, and I would never put up a woman, because we're always the ones that get voted out first, and I'm
you're
not
right.
doing that.
You're right.
So
100 respect, 100%.
I just found another white guy that wasn't Trey.
Ooh, you're killing me right now. Hey, all respect, all respect. I had some certain motives in there myself to where I wasn't gonna put up certain people because I understand how these shows work.
Right,
So it's like you
right.
gotta put your foot down and kind of you gotta you know what was going on, and you've seen shows not like this but similar, I guess you could say,
Yeah,
and the patterns that have been done year after year after year after year after year, and
absolutely.
it's important to have something I think new and show people that like, look, this can be a different narrative if we want it to be, but I have to actually stand by what I'm gonna say and what I'm going in there to do, and you use the actions with it, so that makes complete sense. But we'll get there in a minute. Um, so we in the dorms for a little bit, and 200 eventually goes home, and so that when the game kind of gets real for everyone. Did you have What was you thinking when you saw 200 go home?
I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what was going on till I watched the show, but there was like later, like, oh, so and so might have been the one that did that. Because Kyle, let's face it, that was the worst. He was the worst actor ever. Like, I mean, come on, Kyle. Danny was great. She could act, but Kyle was like, I'm an actor.
Yeah,
It's like,
somebody scratching his neck, like, huh?
yeah,
Like, what
like,
you
no,
say?
I didn't do anything. Like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, then I'm like, there's obviously a game going on here. We don't know what's happening, and you're always wondering what's going on behind the closed doors of the chores, that get assigned. So,
Yeah.
and then it got a little dicey, right? Every time someone came out of a chore, like, well, what really happened?
Exactly. Some people were lying about what they were doing, which I had happened to me, and it was interesting to see that. So yeah,
Who
200 gets
wait,
put.
who lied to you?
Well, I'll say. I mean, I don't look. Not 161 Lorenzo, but Mike Lorenzo.
The other
Yes,
Lorenzo.
the one in Jersey.
Yeah.
He was in there one time, and I was like, he came out, and somebody's like, oh, he just went inside the chore room. And I talked to him. I was like, oh, did you go in there? He's like, no. I was like, but somebody just told me you did. He's like, no, I didn't. I was like, okay. I was cool with him in there, so it's like, it is what it is. But
Did
I
he?
don't.
Did you
I
find out
think
later?
I'm pretty
Had
sure he
he?
did. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
did.
Oh, we gotta
So I
ask
mean,
him.
I gotta ask him. Yeah, I forgot about that till just now. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's whatever now. But it was like at the time, it's like you're every little thing. It's like, geez, I was just talking to this person, and then they could be lying to me. So
Right?
I mean,
Everything
maybe
was
yeah.
everything was so amplified. And like any little different thing became like this moment that like you had to figure out how to like register and decipher it in relation to the game.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
was
interesting.
insane. Paranoia at its finest. But we soon get
Yes.
out of there, and it's time to go to the second game. And we walk into the white room and see these four lines. What's kind of going through your head?
I don't know, not the same thing going through yours.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, so when I walked into that room, when we're standing at the top of those stairs, I walked in and Trey was by me, and I immediately fixated on number one, and I said, Trey, we need to go to one. Um, I can feel it. It is like emanating aura to me. We need to go to one. So we walk in, and Figgy and Dash and James and Trey and Bridget, some other people, they're like, let's go to four. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to go to one, but okay. So we stand in line on four, and all of a sudden, like, I don't know, we're there for like 5 minutes. I hear James. Oh no. I said, what? He said, four is a really unlucky number in the Korean culture. We need to get out of this line. I'm like, all right, we're going to one. Let's go to one. So, like, the whole group of us walked over and stood in one. That's the second time James saved my life in that game, because in Red Light, Green Light, he taught me the song, and he taught me what syllable. I realized what syllable I had to start stopping. So, two points for James in my eyes. And after that, I said to Trey, if I get an advantage, I'm sorry, you're not getting it. James is going to get it, not you. He's like, that's okay, I get it. That's fine.
Hey, look, shout out James.
Oh, James. James is like the sweetest guy on earth. So we went to line one, and then when the whole ruckus and commotion of like the first four in the lines go in, that was were you were the second in line? Okay, so when they put them up on the screen, first of all, I'm like, holy cow, that's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
like a
wonderful.
beautiful. that's a beautiful TV screen. And this show, I think that's when I realized this show might be kind of fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we're watching it. They immediately fail. And then they come in for the second four. And I'm like, oh no, like, come on, just make an agreement. And then you guys, oh my God, I can't believe what you guys did. Because they literally said, you cannot play another game. You have to discuss it and make a decision. And I think as soon as you guys took off running, they probably should have just squibbed all of you.
Well, I will say, looking at after the show's been completed, I think they said no games because they just didn't want us to play rock, paper, scissors. I think that was.
You're right.
I think that was.
You're right.
Yeah, I think like if they would have just said, you can do whatever you want, just you can't play rock, paper, scissors, but they can't say that because then they're giving away the ending. So they have to say, what's the normal game people go to? Rock, paper, scissors, no games total. So I think that's why we get what we get with the edit because, you know, say we did end up playing rock, paper, scissors, we would have got Squid just like that, I guarantee. So just me thinking, I'm thinking. But yeah, it makes
if like you went like this, they would have just squibbed y'all.
Yeah, I feel like that would have happened, but with the race, it happened, and they were just like, okay, we're not doing no races in this show, so go ahead and do what you want to do.
Yeah, that was wild. And then was it Kevin's knee that went through, or was it your knee?
That was me. That was my arm. My forearm went through the.
Oh, it was your forearm. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was alarming. That was alarming to finally go into that arena. And to see the hole in the wall, it's like, oh my God, this is a brutal game.
I ran into it, and then once we got squibbed, I like hit it again. And when I left, and then, you know, that's all she wrote for 288 story. But 302 is still in the game. So you eventually, you know, we get through the lines and whatnot. Chaos commences, and you ultimately get the circle. Thankfully, and so
keep the circle. I keep the circle.
You keep this. I mean, look, people in line 1 and line 4 have very contrasting thoughts about the process of how things should go. I understand. If I was in line 1, I'd be like, good, go in line order. I completely understand. But being in line 4, it's like they put us in here for a reason to talk it out and to figure it out communicatively. And I just thought, I'll do anything but go in line order as the process of what we should do. So that's a line that both reasons are very understandable, and I get both. There's not a right and there's not a wrong answer, I don't think. But
what line were you in, DeAndre?
I was in line 4.
Oh, you were. Okay. So I get that. I mean, I get your viewpoint. I also I'm like, come on now, like you chose that line, and that's where the umbrella is.
I mean, we didn't know though. We didn't know though.
Line. Well, but you still willingly chose that line. I get it. Yeah. Hey, I would have felt the same way as you.
Yeah.
If I were in that line.
And I would have felt the same way as you if I was in line 1. So I totally get it. It's impossible for you to put yourself in line 4, and it's possible for me to put myself in line 1 and our viewpoints and whatnot. So I totally get both reasons why. It just depends on what line you were in. So totally get it. I would have been with you. Like, look, we're in line order, guys. Why not? So, but yes, it eventually gets in the line order, and you get the circle, and you get in there, and you're getting ready to start your circle. So tell me how you get your process through the circle and how you feeling.
Well, when the circle people were filmed, they split us into quadrants. So I was in a quadrant with a lot of people that just became fast friends. Figgy, Trey, Dash, Bridget. We're all in there. You know, Kyle might have been in there too. Anyway,
Kyle 101. Kyle, the one that evicted.
Mullet Kyle. Yeah, he might have.
He was in Triangle or Umbrella.
Oh, never mind. So the other 3 quadrants went first. So we could watch all of them and what they were doing and how they were doing. It was a real advantage, I feel like, for us, even though circle is supposedly the easiest cookie to do. So, but our quadrant had a plan. We were going to lick the cookie for 5 minutes, lick and spit the cookie, lick the back 5 minutes nonstop, keep licking it. When it hit 5 minutes, we would tell each other the clock hit five, and then we turn it over, put it back in the tin, and start scraping, whether you had to spit on it or whatever, but start the scrape. And then you have 5 minutes to get the cookie out. It was actually a really good plan. And within the circle people, one person in each quadrant did not make it. And I think it was solely because the cookie just had, like, structural problems with it. I mean, there was really no other reason. So that was nice to have so many of the circle people make it through. But yeah, we had a very specific plan. And when I left, Trey was still there. There was, I don't know how many, maybe 2 minutes, and then it took me a minute to gather myself and get out. So the most emotional I was in that game was after cookies, because I wasn't sure Trey made it through. And thank God there weren't cameras behind the scenes walking between sets, because I was sobbing. And they wouldn't tell me. They would not tell me if he made it. They
Really?
just, they hid him for like 3 hours for this grand, welcome back to the dorm. So yeah, that was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, it was a little nerve wracking and boots were shaking, but you made it through, and so did Trey and all
Yes.
most of your most of your
Yeah.
friends slash alliance members. A few casualties in there, but hey, the game must go on, and you
Yeah.
still in there. So we get back into the dorms, and we soon see this telephone. Are you thinking about grabbing this telephone?
I actually did pick it up, not when it rang. I just picked it up when it still wasn't connected to anything, just to see if it was like a cellular phone or what it was. I just picked it up, nothing there, put it back. People were touching the dial, but there was just nothing. Um, I don't know. I think at that point I just was perfectly happy to watch someone else answer the phone.
Mm,
And there was one very eager person to answer the phone. So
yeah.
go
He was
answer.
he was very eager. 198, and also we had a couple others. I believe. Why am I forgetting?
Abu
Elliot and Abood,
and Abu picked it up.
and it's funny. I was talking to Sam, who was also in the Circle line earlier. British Sam,
Okay.
um, with glasses and whatnot. If you remember him, he was
Yeah.
player 188. It's funny because I'm like, look, all the British people want to pick up the phone. I'm like, y'all gotta chill out. What's going on?
Right? Yeah.
so yeah, 198 picks up the phone twice essentially, and it is evicted out of here. They sent him out Amazon Prime style, and he is gone. And so we move on to the third game, and well, the third game, and we walk into the white room the second time, and now we see 8 lines. What are you thinking?
Well, it was all tug of war, right? They're telling us do not talk strategy, do not talk strategy about tug of war. We're asking you to not talk. They're coming in shushing us when we start talking strategy. So, we're all really sure we're playing tug of war. So I see all the big guys, Brighton and company. They're like, we're over here. And they're only taking other big guys. So those that might be perceived weaker, not allowed in their line. Then there was the Chad line that had a mixture of men and women. TJ's line had a mixture of men and women. And Trey and I, we we had decided to try to get both TJ. Now, we love TJ and Chad, but we wanted to get both of them to tell us we could go to their line and then make a last second decision on whose line we went to. So, I'm looking at who's in TJ's line, who's in Chad's line, and I'm like, Trey, let's just stay here. Even though I felt like TJ's alliance didn't want me in that line. But TJ was loyal, and we went to TJ's line. And then when we stepped into that battleship arena, it was a shock. It was like seeing somebody that doesn't belong where they are, but you know them, And I'm like, what do we how this isn't tug of war. What is this? And
Yeah.
that was great. And honestly, I was really happy for the lines that, were like all the perceived weaker people were and women. And, I was like, oh, this is great because now it's going to be even. But you're
Yeah.
immediately pitted against friends,
Yeah.
so
No, that's tough. You got a reality check kind of hits real quick, like, yeah, we're even, but then at the same time, it's like, well, I gotta go against one of my good friends or
that's right.
allies. But I'm gonna rewind just a slit bit real quick. Before we get into tug of war, or before we get into the white room, actually, there's a moment they show on the show where you and Trey are talking about, you seeing the bros in the corner, and you see these group of guys. Now I spoke to one of the bros yesterday, and they weren't real, like, they hung out. I think that was the only time they ever all hung out together was the one time. And so you
No
see them.
way. No way. They were up in that balcony from the get-go just
They had a
chilling together.
so they had like the work, that was their work by the water fountain. That was the workout area apparently.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's where they stayed at. And yeah, yes, they were doing the pull-ups, push-ups, all that stuff over there.
Yeah.
But you go up to one of them, 432, and you try and start a conversation. What makes you kind of want to do that and whatnot, and how
Well,
does that go about?
you know what? You do get some contemplative time in the game. And so every night when we went to bed, I would I would be thinking, well, I didn't get a chance to talk to this person or I didn't get a chance to talk to that person. I will talk to them first thing in the morning. Sometimes I didn't work out because they would get eliminated, which was always very sad. But with Brighton, I was being so judgy. I'm like, I am so judgy with him. I need to find out if he's for real. Because if he's just putting on a show, then I'm going to just think he's a jerk. But if this is like really who he is, that's who he is. I mean, it's not for me to judge who he is. Um, so I decided I needed to talk to Brighton, and Brighton had moved over behind me by the water fountain at that point, and he was on the ground level. So I just went over and sat on the bench next to him. Honestly, DeAndre, I was a little worried because he's doing all these like little workouts, and it's like it was like workouts for men for the men. It was really like I'm peacocking here. I'm strong. I want all you other men to know I'm strong. It wasn't really for women or anything. Um, so I just wanted to see if he was for real because he was not eating the breakfast, the horrible oatmeal that they served us. He said he couldn't digest it. He said he would just throw up if he ate it. But he needed the calories. We all needed the calories. And he said, I said, but you needed to think clearly. So I was actually just sort of worried about him not eating. Trey said, don't worry about him. Let him not eat. They're just going to get weaker in the body and weaker in the brain. Don't worry about them. And then Trey at one point's like, quit offering me the food that you can't eat because it's going to put a target on my back. Offer it to somebody else. So I started giving the bigger guys my food. But
Okay,
that's
okay.
why that was why I went over there. Some people I have heard have said, "Oh yeah, the producers put her up to going over there." Absolutely not. I think they asked me to have two conversations, and that was just like a regurgitation of a conversation that already happened, and they
Hmm.
just weren't ready to, swivel those cameras and face you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you have a lot of time to talk to people, so I mean,
So much.
you it could have been like for 10 seconds, and then you have like it turns into something else. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. Especially the people whose beds were near the bottom and they were in them. They were people climb up to them more so because they were just visible and on a bed close to the ground rather than climbing up
Yes,
mattresses to get to them. So, and he's by the water fountain too.
absolutely.
So,
And you can hear all the conversations walking by you, and people sit on the steps in front of you and chit chat, and you just get a lot of information that way.
okay. So after you have this little how are you feeling now after all that, and then you see you in the white room and you see like how's because from perceived point of view, it looks like some would say like, oh, you got to make an alliance for because you see the big guys. Oh, I got to get with them because of tug of war. So Was that any part of your thinking as well? And like, how
Oh,
was your guys' relationship after the talks? I guess you could say.
who like me and Brighton?
Yeah.
It's not like we became best buddies or anything, but like, I felt like there was a part of him that wasn't being seen because he is abrasive, let's face it, but that's just his natural cockiness and it's survival of the fittest on a football field or in life, and he's just translated that football field straight into life. Someday, like all young people, you learn there's more to life. There's more subtle things. There's more or
Yep.
less obvious things that make you strong. Um, so yeah, I mean, I didn't think poorly of him with all the big guys because I was just hoping our numbers weren't drawn and we had to face each other.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely makes sense. Okay, makes sense. So we're
Yeah.
gonna fast forward back into the tug of war, to Battleship. We find out it's that you explain kind of like everyone's kind of shocked. And so when the game gets started, your guys' game, you guys elect TJ as your captain. It's pretty much a unanimous vote. And the game gets started and it's getting real kind of dicey. And eventually your boat gets hit. No, Trey's boat gets
Yes.
hit. Trey's
It's
boat gets hit. So when you see his,
No,
go ahead.
we're in the same five boat.
You're in the same boat. So yeah, your boat gets hit.
Yeah, so here was the thing. That was the least enjoyable game because Trey was so sour the whole time. He wanted two things. He wanted to be in the two boat and he did not want to be in a boat with me. Cuz he's like, if we're in the same boat and we get sunk, we're out of the game. Period. It's over. And when we finally got the boat situated, TJ was saying where to put the boats. Um Everybody just got in boats and there were two spots left. And they were the same five boat. And I'm like, oh, Trey was so upset. He was very upset. But you know who else was in that boat? Ashley and Sam. Like like top 10 people were in that boat. So I don't know.
Yep.
I guess it ended up being a very unlucky boat.
Yeah. No, it was crazy. I mean, y'all game was getting a little tight in there, but you know, your captain kind of came through for y'all. Nobody got eliminated from the game, so definitely it was a very you guys were the only team that had nobody eliminated from them. So
Yep.
definitely a very heroic, and hurrah, like we're in a group type of thing. So well, since your team was the only team that not have nobody eliminated, are you looking at these people like, man, like we can work with y'all now, or is it kind of just like, okay, on to the next?
No. I mean, even in that game, there were some revelations like uh Lorenzo was in there with all of his people, and I'm like, he's being really mean to them. Like, why is he being mean to these people?
How was he being mean to his friends? Just
I
curious.
don't know. He was just being abrupt. I guess he was being abrupt, and I think he felt like he wasn't being respected by TJ because Lorenzo kind of wanted to be the lieutenant, or whoever was second in command
Mhm.
in the game. And then TJ's like, nope, we're taking Lucia. And Lucia was his friend, was Lorenzo's friend. So it was just like I didn't realize who Lorenzo's friends were at that point, but I did see like I don't know petulance or something. I'm like, oh, just like you're not one of the captains, so just get in a boat, like
Okay,
you
okay. There was a
know,
little hostility on the boats and the team, so
a
we didn't get to see
little.
that. I wish we got to see a little bit of
No.
that.
And
Um,
honestly, DeAndre, it was just really like this little thing. And when you go to eliminate somebody so early in the game, you only have little things to go on.
yeah,
And I don't think not talking to someone is a reason to eliminate someone because that's on you as much as the other person.
yeah,
So I hate that reasoning.
yeah. No, same. Well, we move on, and then you go. Congratulations, you make it through warships. I will touch on one more thing. So when you guys get back in there, and I don't know your relationship with Figgy, but Trey had a very good relationship with her, and we see that she is not coming back. Were you
Yeah.
just as sad as he? Like you had a like
Oh,
close relationship with her as well? And how did that go?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, really tight with Figgy, and since the game's over, we've gotten tighter and remain close. She and Trey are very tight. No showmance. Figgy's engaged. Trey just bought a new apartment with his girlfriend. Like, no, there's nothing happening there. They are good buddies. We will go to the wedding.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was sad because, for gameplay, Figgy was like, she's like right there in your face trying to get information. Like, she's not shy about getting info, and she had a good way about it. So she was a font of knowledge
Yeah.
that was now no longer with us.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's time to, get you everything buckled up and like, look, we gotta get our bootstraps on and
That's
get to
right.
walking and try and use what she gave us to continue on in the game. And so we get back in, and then the person above tells us there will be two tests before the next game. And the first test is to vote three people out, and they bring out this Pac-Man looking machine, and everyone has to get in this long line to vote. And so before that, well, they say the rules, and then you have time to kind of like talk and whatnot. But then essentially, you, B, and Amanda go into the kitchen,
The
and
kitchen.
you guys see these. So walk me through this whole little portion. So you guys walk in the kitchen, and
Yeah. So we walked in, and this is a fake kitchen, but it's filled with kitchen stuff. So we walk in, and on the stainless steel table is a stainless steel bowl. And there are like 11 green apples and a red one parked on top in the middle. Beautiful. We kind of ignored it because we had a chore we had to do, and that chore was washing all the silverware for dinner. So we immediately went over, started sudsing up, started washing it all, and we're talking. And then we like start talking about the apples behind us. And I think we were very fixated on why there was a red apple. And then we started going through all the metaphors with red apples, and none of them are good. The poison red apple, you know, uh, take a bite, you go to sleep. I mean, like apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, there's just like so many things. Adam and Eve, you don't want to mess with red apples. So we made the decision. We wanted to slice the apples and take them out if we could. We asked the people in the ether, who are listening to us, can we slice these and take them out? And they come back on. They said, yes, but we need to give you a knife because that knife is not sharp enough. And so, they're like, wash your hands again. And so they're clean to eat. But we left the red apple. And so when we came out, we just wanted everyone to know we left the red apple. We don't know what it means, but here are the green apples. And, partake. It was like we didn't eat any of them in there. We waited and brought them all out. And as we know now, Lorenzo was like, I don't even like red apples. That was a horrible accent, but it's like, I mean, I don't even like apples. So, and I'm thinking, well, dude, like, take them and take them to your friends, like you've been taking food from people. Take them for them. They'll eat them. But no. So yes, that was their, but look, his reasoning, that was not bad reasoning because nothing is what it seemed in the game. Everything had a twist. And we just kind of figured if everybody ate the apples, they're not going to eliminate everybody.
yeah.
But if
So
anyone ate a red apple, they might be. So
so when you're handing out these apples and whatnot, there are other people to say no to the apples, right? Or was he kind of like the main one? And like, what
he
what
was
points
the
him out
he
out of
was the
everybody?
main one. I didn't really. Maybe people did. I don't know. I don't know. But almost everybody I took them to took them. And some people took, more than one slice, which was fine because, we're just taking them
Yeah.
around. It's a
Yeah.
lot of slices. And boy, they were tasty. They were really tasty.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
I get why Lorenzo didn't if he was he really doesn't like apples, and he was wary of what it might mean.
So it was kind of like the way he said it, you think, was a little taken aback. Like, well, like it wasn't. It was a little more than what you kind of were expecting or needing. Like the way it was
I
presented.
don't know. He was just like, I don't even like them. So, like, okay, take them and give them to your friends.
I got you.
But
I got you. I got you. Okay. Well, we move past the apples, and soon it is time to get in this line. And so you get near the front because.
I have no friggin' idea why I got
Okay.
near the front. And the first
Okay.
thing Trey says, have you learned nothing? Do not stand in the front of lines and do not volunteer for things.
Okay.
Apparently, I had learned nothing.
Well, you just moseyed your way in there, and it kind of just happened. So yes, you get in there, and you obviously, so we see vote for Lorenzo for obvious reasons. Is there any other reason besides the apples and I guess what you've
Um,
experienced in warships?
yeah, the worships, and also I was aware of Jada's complaints about him stealing the food, so or
Mm.
taking the extra food. So yeah, I mean Lorenzo wasn't hungry. He's like taking 2 or 3 tins every meal, so he doesn't eat apples.
Interesting. Okay, so you used all these things compiled. You already kind of,
Yeah.
it makes okay. That makes sense from your perspective, 100%. So yes, you eventually vote for Lorenzo, and then everyone goes and votes, and then eventually, it is Lorenzo's turn to vote, and he comes down to you and does his little spiel. How do you feel about him like doing all that?
Yeah, that's just one of those like really surreal moments. You see him spin around and walk over, and I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting. I wonder what's going to happen here." And Trey's got his hand on my shoulder, and I feel it tighten, and I'm thinking, "Trey, get your hand off my shoulder." Like I'm fine. If he takes a swing, I will be able to defend myself. so so and then he just, did his little whine, and I was like a little perplexed. Like, wait, what? Like, those are the same numbers, Lorenzo. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, yes, that was a little theatrics going in there, but ultimately, yes, we find out that 374 Andy, 330 Dr. V, and 161 Lorenzo are out of the island and they are out of the building.
Now
And
that was a shocker to me, the Dr. V vote, because that was all going on. I had no idea there was some sentiment to vote him out, and it coming from TJ's alliance, and I'm like, I'm tight with TJ. Why didn't he say anything about this? It
yeah,
was just that's when the game really changed for me. Like, oh, there's a lot of layers happening here.
yeah.
And I don't know
Mhm.
if it's good to remain somewhat ignorant or really dive in.
I
So
think,
that it
I think,
really changed right there.
yeah. I think the ignorance is bliss was the best way to go looking back at everything. Now that we see how things are like, okay, if we didn't know what's going on, we're good. So
Right.
if you knew too much, then I don't know if it's still good. But yes, we move on to the second test and we find out there's 6 boxes up there and they need 5 volunteers. So we get 183 Jesse, 130 Jacobin, 87 Kyle, 229 Felicia, and 375 Joel. So with these people up here, they explain the rules and whatnot. Are you worried of any of these people voting you out?
Oh, absolutely. I think I was most worried about Felicia voting me out. And I wasn't sure about Jesse. But I knew because of he knew TJ and I were tight, so I didn't think he would do that to TJ. Um, but I was most concerned with Felicia because I wasn't sure. Because when I turned to see who Lorenzo's friends were, when I put his number up, um, I was like, I can't remember if Felicia was in that group or not. I couldn't remember because they were all women of color, and I couldn't remember if she was there because I didn't see all of them, so I really didn't know. And then when she said something like, and these two, I can't remember what she said, something
So
like,
these two have like a close bond. They're working
yeah,
close together in the game and whatnot when she was referring to Rick and Steven.
yeah. And that's
So you
when
just
I looked at Trey and we're like, oh no, this might be it. But it would have been an amazing boss move, though it might have hurt her in the long run, is if she took Steven and Trey, or if she took Rick and me and broke up both of us, but then she would have
Yeah.
had two rather large groups after her.
Yeah.
So
No.
maybe it wasn't such a bad move to just take them both. And I don't blame her. When I heard what happened, I'm like, good job, because the gang boo gang, I that wasn't working in this game. I know it made them all tight and close, but that just wasn't working. That wasn't how this game was going to be won.
Yeah, no, 100% right. And then also to follow your point is everyone is like upset at her for taking Rick out. I think that was the smartest person, honestly, because he was good at all the games.
Oh yes,
Every
he
single
was.
game he was good at. He was practicing that, and he practicing months before the game. He probably would have won Circle of Trust. He would have known which platform to jump onto. He would have won the marbles. Like he would have been good to go. He
I
would have been good at
know.
Marble Simpsons. He would have been good at everything. So I
It
think, yeah, go ahead.
No, that was, I told her afterward, that was total badass what she did. I mean, and to do it under such emotional duress and to take Jacoman out too. Like, that was like such clear-headed thinking in a moment of such duress that, like, I was so impressed by her. I really was.
Yeah. No, well, she took care of business on her end, and so we
She
get out of
did.
get up out of there. Not all your friends seem to be safe out there, seemingly, and most of them.
Yeah, some of them.
uh, yeah. Rest in peace to some of them that got taken out. Dr.
They're
Dr.
not dead, DeAndre.
All right, in the Squid universe,
Yeah.
But yes, we move on, and then the guards soon bring out these picnic baskets and blankets after this group of people complete these chores. And so when you see the picnic baskets and blankets brought out, what's going through your head?
You know, before, when we lined up, I said, Trey, I don't think we should line up together. It's 2 by 2. This is not the Bible. 2 by 2 is not working here. This is going to be marbles. And he's like, yeah, but every game has had a twist. And we came into this game together. We've played the games together. If it is marbles, we know one of us is moving on. But that's when I'm like, okay, all right, I'll let you have this one. I don't know why I let him have it. I did not want to go together, but we did.
No. So did you said you had a feeling it was marbles, of course, and so someone else told me that there was other people trying to switch groups with you, like switch people with you guys. Was that a thing at all?
That's interesting. I don't know if I remember that, but that might be true. There might be a lot of things that happen that I don't remember because there's so much minutia of people saying things, and that might be true. Yeah.
But
I would have done it.
Yeah, okay. But Trey was pretty much like, look, we're going together regardless, so at least one of them makes it through, and that was, said and done.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the producers were behind the scenes like, no. But then when we did it, they must have been like, oh my God, this is so great. They must have just been like so happy we actually did that, even though one of us was gonna go. And I mean, it was just so unexpected that I kept going in the show. So yeah.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough. Definitely watching, it's like, no, like, don't get together. And it's unfortunate that, I mean, you guys had the plan, so I wouldn't say unfortunate. I mean, that was the part of the plan. So
I guess so. I still like, I'm like, we both could have won. We both could have gone to the next round. Or then Trey will say, yeah, but we both could have lost too. So,
but then you would have been out together at the same time, so I think
that's right.
I mean, look, I understand his point of view on looking at it. I get it, because we guarantee one of us is still here, so you still have a piece of yourself in the game. But I don't know. I personally wouldn't want to be with my friend in marbles, but that's just me.
But you know what? Like when I left him after I had lost, I said, Trey, if the games we think are coming are the more physical of the games, you're better suited for the more physical games. I said, I know you're smart. I know you're agile, you're strong, you're quick. I know you're all those things, but you got to be lucky. And that's the one thing I'm going to be praying for, is that you're lucky. And I mean, that just got more and more true as they went on. You had to be lucky to win all the way through to the end. You had to be
Yep.
lucky to win.
No, 100%, 100%.
And it is all based on luck. It's like, I don't even know why we played all the games. Everything was luck.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, could have just went to the casino, y'all.
I
Gave us our
know.
tickets and we're like, all right,
Pulled
put
the
your tickets
slot.
in.
Right.
So, well, we get into the marbles game, and obviously you guys playing each other. So, how is the vibe? Because we get an edit, but what's your kind of vibe in there when obviously one of you two are going home, and you already understand this, but like, how do you guys decide the game, and then tell me like the vibes and things.
Well, Trey wanted to play a game that was really a chancy game, like total chance who moved on. I wanted a game that I could control if at any point I'm like, he needs to go on, not me. So we just played a basic marbles darts game. The vibe was, I felt like some resignation, I think. I'm glad that it didn't require like a true elimination, because that would have been heartbreaking. But yeah, I guess I was just resigned, and I could just feel like the black cloud over my head, but still hopeful that once he had won, he continued and went the whole way. I had high
Yeah.
hopes for him.
So what was so yes, unfortunately that's the game, that's where your game ends 302, but you still have a piece in the game. So you're not all the way out. When you leave, there's about 30-ish people left. What are you feeling confident that like yeah, he definitely has this, or are you feeling like I don't know, since I'm not there to kind of like be his
Yeah.
second voice in his ear anymore? Like what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I knew he didn't need me. I didn't need him. We could have played the game, and we would have played it the same had we both been there alone. We were not, like, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, mommy's boy." That's really not what he is or
Yeah,
has
he doesn't
ever
come
been.
across as a mom. He doesn't come across
Yeah.
as that. So
Yeah, no, we could have easily played independently without the other one ever being there from the beginning. I still thought it was basically a 1 in 30 chance, because I just really thought everyone had the same chance
yeah.
because of how everything had been set up with all the previous games and challenges and tests. They're all random.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I definitely think that you would have made it past the picking game of like picking up someone like the one to go from 31 to 20. I definitely think you would have been good there, 100%, because you had a lot of close people with you still there at that point. TJ, Trey, of course, Roland, James. So plenty of people.
But
And
that would have,
the women's alliance thing too. So like
right.
that helped too. So
That
I
would have
definitely.
been really interesting, because I put myself there and I would know that everyone would think if they chose Trey or if they chose me, they're choosing two people.
Yeah. But I
And
think they did the women's thing though. So it's like.
yeah, if I had gotten chosen first, I would have chosen Trey. And I would have
You had
begged
to.
him. He probably would have chosen Roland. I mean, who knows? Everything would have been messed up because of me for the Women's Alliance. So for their sake, it was probably good I wasn't there.
Yeah, it would have been different. It would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But I point is like I think you would have made it through. Like for you, forget everyone else. I'm thinking you would have made it through, and then you'd have had, say you and Trey both make it to Glass Bridge. That's, you might have so with everything that happened. I know we spoke about this briefly, but Trey has his little moment, Superman moment, and keeps jumping and jumping and jumping, and so he does mention you there. Do you think? I mean, I'm sure. Like, what would you think? What would happen if you were there to kind of like, de-escalate things?
Oh, to de-escalate his situation? Uh
Because say the same thing happens. Say you have like a high number, you're in the back, and the same scenarios happens where it's like, okay, Ashley did not say she wasn't going to jump past him, but then again, he kind of panicked, and you saw him jump once and then twice. Then, like, what do you think?
if no one would have stepped forward, I wonder if I would have stepped forward to take his jump, to take that next jump. I wonder. I think I might have
Or you'd been
kept
yelling
would
at him
have.
to stop, or
Oh yeah, because I have since found out he didn't give it enough time. Before he took that third jump, if he had just let the clock tick, but he did it like within 15 seconds. Like, put the pressure on them. There's a whole lot of people back there. And I guess they had told them in the directions for the game that they probably weren't going to be allowing like this unionization of the low numbers to keep the high numbers from also moving on, because everybody would have been eliminated in the game. It would have been over.
yeah,
So I don't know how they would have dealt with that, but they would have had to deal with that. So yeah, I don't know, Andre. I think it's so hard to DeAndre. It's so hard to answer those questions because you don't know what kind of mental state you're in. You're tired, you're hungry, you've been there for hours, you're under a lot of duress, and you're up high off the ground as well, so with no guardrails.
yeah, no,
So
100%. I feel that.
yeah.
So, well, when you get back to the hotel, how you feeling now?
Well, I guess there was relief and sadness. It's a bit of a shock to walk back into a public space with people not playing the game with you, and to walk by the bar and see alcohol, and you can order a Wagyu burger like and eat, and like you take a shower where you don't have to push the thing every single time you want like 10 seconds of hot water. um, I turned on the TV late that night. I turned it on, and there was like a Squid commercial on the TV, and it was like, it took my breath away because it was the music, and it just like took my breath away. I'm like, oh, this is a little PTSD, like, like it was like PS, what is it?
PTSD.
PTSD. Yeah, I'm like, oh, that was weird. It was also
And that is,
joyous because we got to see the players we hadn't seen,
yeah, and
talk
just go
with
over there.
them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, I don't know, there's a lot going on there. It's still
Yeah.
kind of like that. Like there's such
Yeah.
a connection, and you want to talk to each other.
Yeah, no, it's like doesn't even take any effort to kind of, like you're at a Thanksgiving or a family reunion, you're like, oh, I gotta go talk to
Yeah.
the cousin or the uncle or this or
Right.
the
Yeah.
like
Not
this is
here.
like, oh yeah, like let me
No,
just go
like
talk.
jibber
You know,
jabber. But one thing I couldn't do, so we weren't given our phones back until you turned in your uniform. So I spent the first day at the hotel. I got there in daylight, I think. Or no, it was evening. Um, the next day, the whole day, I still didn't get my phone. I knew I was so emotional, I couldn't call home. And even by that time, like a full 24 hours after I was able to call home, I finally did. And it was still extremely emotional. I don't know if it affected you that way, but it's like all the emotions are like right here, instead of like tamped down.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to try and explain what the game meant to me to anyone who asked, because it would get emotional in a hurry.
Yeah, and they just kind of didn't really understand. They were like, "Whoa, like it's just okay," and like, "No, like it's not okay, like this," and then so definitely. So
And
when you finally,
DeAndre, that like Big Brother, yeah, you stay there. It's a different situation because you can eat and all. You stay there, but almost all of those other reality shows, they don't stay, like Traders, they don't stay in the castle. They go to their hotels, they get on their phones, they can call home.
yeah, so
That's not how it was with us. There was like, I just wanted to know, did the Chiefs win their playoff game? Like, did, like, I just wanted to know what was going on in the world, and like imagining what could have been going on in the world. So yeah, it
yeah,
was,
no. It's like time stopped a little bit for all
it
of us, and
did,
we're just like, "Whoa, like what's going on?" So it was
did.
crazy. But so when you fly back home and you finally get back to your house, how are you feeling now?
Um, still, still like tired but exuberant. I wanted to eat two foods that we had in there, which were kind of ended up being like a comfort food. I had at the hotel, I had like an onion and cheese sandwich on white bread. It sounds disgusting. Oh my God, was it so good because I was so hungry after red light, green light. And then those little Trex bars that they gave us toward the end. I don't, they probably hadn't given it to us when, after. Oh no, I think they had give. Were they giving us the Trex bars for protein?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm like, oh my God, these are the best things I've ever had in my life. So I ordered them on Amazon, got it at home, and I'm like, this is not really as good as I remember. It's like there was just like we were so hungry. Anything with flavor was fantastic. But
Yeah. No,
yeah,
100%.
eating was a problem. I lost 15 pounds in those
Wow.
two plus weeks. 15 pounds. Yeah.
That's crazy. Jeez. That's
Yeah.
insane. Well, yeah, it was crazy situations in there, and you finally kind of sees things. So I'll ask also, when you finally saw Trey, or when he called you, how are you feeling when he called and explained everything?
So what happened was I was still at the hotel when he was eliminated.
Okay.
And I had gone to bed that night and I talked to a lot of the earlier Glassbridge people. They were already back at the hotel in the room across the hall from me. So we were like chilling in the room, a bunch of us all together. Chaz and Marina and TJ and Jackie. Um, uh, Eric Roberts, Irish dude, was there. He's so funny. Jordan was there. And we're just talking. So I probably went to bed like at 2 in the morning, maybe a little later. But I had told the team downstairs who were processing the people who had been eliminated, if Trey comes back tonight, please bring him up to my room because I was flying out the next morning. Please bring him back. And they're like, we're not supposed to do that. I'm like, I'm begging you, bring him up to my room. So, like at 3 o'clock, I hear this light knocking on the door. And I'm like, oh no, no. And and I go to the door and there's Trey and James standing at the door. And the production person was behind and she's like giving me a little wave. And I said, thank you so much. And they came in the room. And I was so surprised, both of them. Sure, they were sad, but they both had smiles on their faces. I think they both uh, were just so pleased about the experience and about how they played the game that they didn't feel bad. They were jubilant about their experience the second they got out. So that made me feel better. That made me feel good. I did get to see him, and then we went
Okay.
our separate ways.
Okay, that was good. That was good. I was just a very heartfelt story. I wish they could have
Yeah,
caught that on camera too to put that
I
on there. You gonna make me cry.
know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was like a, oh, you should have seen me trying to get my pants on in the room because I was like so tired and I'm like, I'm coming. I can't get my pants on. I'm trying.
Oh, oh, that's sweet. That's very sweet.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad they did that, or else that would have been messed up if they didn't.
I know.
Um,
I was so glad they did that. They were
yeah, well,
sweet. That
shout
I
out to
mean,
the Studio Lambert people.
I know the welfare people have taken some hits, but nothing but like from what I saw, they did everything they could to keep us, in safe place, both mentally and physically.
Yep, 100%, 100%.
And they still
Well, at least,
are.
yeah, they still are doing their thing, and if you
Yeah.
ever need anything, if they're open to it, so
Yeah.
definitely shout out to them, and they some good people over there. So definitely
Without a doubt.
100% respect for
Yeah.
them. Well, Leann, I appreciate you spending all this time with me on a podcast. It was more than wonderful to have you on. I feel like family to me at this point. We from Kansas City, and now we on the East Coast, and all
I
these
know.
things and whatnot. So that was one of the more glorious things I got to experience in the game. Was definitely meeting you, especially early on.
Same for
Um,
me.
oh well, thank you so
Same
much.
for me.
And so before we get out of here, do you have any last words you want to tell the people, or anything that I missed that you want to say? Anything?
Oh, there's so many people I feel such a strong connection, and so many of them, those connections have come after the game. And I think that's the beauty for anyone that's thinking about playing. Yeah, you can, like, look at that pig filled with money up there, but that really isn't the point to play this game. You know, we're a big world, but we can make it smaller by the connections that we can make. And that happened. That happened for me. To have friends from all over the country and the world now, is of all ages, is a gift. And that's the prize that 400, maybe 455 of us took home,
Yeah.
if we didn't leave too salty. But even those salty people have friends outside the game now. So,
Yeah, exactly,
you know,
exactly.
it,
Everybody got a fan of somebody, and that's a great message to leave on that.
yeah,
Connections that will last forever, I feel, and definitely they did a good job of getting some good people in there for sure.
I
So,
think so too. And I'm going to see you on Broadway one of these days. So
hey, we'll see, we'll see.
let's
We got
go.
some things up, and we got some things up in the sleeves and whatnot. So,
Let's go.
definitely. Definitely got some fun stuff potentially coming up, but in due time, in due time. But thank you
Can't
again,
wait.
Leann, for coming. All the respect in the world. Can't wait to see you again soon. I know I got to see you last week, which is wonderful, but hope soon again in the future.
We'll meet up.
Of course,
I'm,
of
I'm
course.
calling you the next time I'm in Kansas City and the next
Okay.
time I'm in the city, the
Hey,
other
that's
city.
right. I'm everywhere. Wherever you need to be, need me to be, I'm there.
You are
Uh,
there.
frequent flyer miles, that's the key to success for me. But once again, Leann, I appreciate you joining me so much. It was an honor, pleasure, and privilege to get your perspective on things. And yeah, I know everybody's trying to put you in trainer package, but they're separate people. So
We
she
are.
definitely has her
We
own
are.
viewpoints of things. So definitely, I appreciate you getting to talk to you and whatnot. And peace and blessings, y'all. Till next time,
Same
we
to
out
you.
you.
Same to you, DeAndre. Thank you.